Let's talk a little bit now about the design intention of the Belle Epoch. Now, obviously, we are modeling this after an Echoplex, an EP3 Echoplex, and I wanted to share with you some of the specific things we've done to that end. So the control surface offers many of the same parameters that a real Echoplex has. If I set the delay time to minimum on the Belle Epoch, and you get the slapback, that is exactly the same as on the Echoplex. And as you see in the picture that we're showing you now, there's there's a record head and playback head, and they're right next to each other. And that's as close as they can get physically. And that's that delay time. And I really wanted the pedal to be able to just quickly get to that sound by turning to minimum delay time. And then on the other end of the scale, the maximum delay time, that is like moving the slider on the Echoplex to the maximum delay time, and it's around 800 milliseconds. We could have made it longer, and we have a special edition that does go longer. It goes to a second, but the stock model goes to that so that we have just the most authentic Echoplex response that way. And the cool thing about this setting, what I discovered, is that Brian May actually uses that maximum delay time on the Echoplex as the basis for a lot of his kind of Echoplex solo endeavors. You know, when he kind of does stuff like all that kind of stuff. So that's the two extremes of the delay time knob, and that was one of the important things for us to get to bring back the true Echoplex experience. And then the other thing we did also is if you turn the repeats up, although it's a knob, we tune it so it responds with the same kind of lag you get when you're actually physically sliding a playback head across tape. You get the kind of like smearing and the kind of catching up type of sound. So now I'd like to talk about the record level and mix knobs on the Belle Epoch and how they relate to a real Echoplex, and more importantly, how you would use those to dial in your sound. So the record level and the mix are analogous on the Echoplex to a record level trim pot that you can access, as you can see in the picture there, and the echo volume. Echo volume is the same as what we call mix on the Belle Epoch. And the record level on the Echoplex was there to set, you know, how hard you're hitting tape. So it's really to just get your recording level set, optimize your signal to noise ratio, and all that stuff. But messing around with the Echoplex, we realized that by hitting the tape harder or less hard, you can get not only different sounds, but different textures, and importantly, where the echo sits in relation to your dry guitar. And so the intention is to use the mix control and the record level together to get that type of response as far as background or foreground echo. And so record levels, you turn it down, it hits the virtual tape softer, and so the repeats are quieter and a little bit airier, wispier, and not as full-bodied. And then as you turn the record level up, it hits tape harder, it saturates harder, you get this kind of head bump, so the low end goes up. And what you can do with this, if you want the first repeat to be louder than your actual guitar, then you can set the record level higher. And so then what you do is you balance with the mix knob. So as you can hear, turning the record level down also brings it down in the mix. But maybe you want a soft repeat sound, but you want it kind of loud in the mix, so you can turn the mix knob up. Or conversely, you want a really saturated echo sound and you don't want loud mix. So you can do like that with the mix down. And you basically balance those two together to get what you're looking for. Now if you're running it in front of the amp, as we have here, then you end up running the record level and mix lower than you would if you were over here and post amp. Post amp, you end up turning these a little higher to get the same level because you're not getting saturation into the amp. That's provided there's nothing after it except for a clean amp or something that doesn't add compression and saturation and gain. So the record level and mix knobs will be set a little bit in different zones depending on if you're running into dirt or after dirt. So you can hear that. It's pretty wispy there. You can turn the record level up and, you know, it's louder, but it's definitely quite different than running it in front. So you get much more in-your-face sound. So that's the record level mix, and use those together and you get the balance you want. Now the mod knob, the modulation knob, that's our thing to get the random wow and flutter from tape. And it has a pretty extreme range, but what you want to do for the most accurate, realistic kind of Echoplex response is set it pretty light. So if I hit it with it off here, so there's no wow and flutter, no modulation. And I turn it up a little bit. And you can hear this kind of slight, just a bit of movement in there. And you know, you turn it up and it gets pretty dramatic. Although if I'm playing like just long repeats like that, it kind of works well. You hear the tape stretch there. But if you're actually playing chords, you know, it can sound pretty dramatic. And if you're looking for that, then you can go for that. And it gets really cartoony up here. So for the realistic sound, just set it mildly. And you can kind of hear it just waver a little bit and tug and stretch. So that's for the realistic tape echo response. Now the other thing about the Belle Epoch architecture, it's identical inside as far as the way the signals are routed to a real Echoplex. So your guitar goes into the pedal and it hits the discrete preamp, and then it goes off, the dry signal goes off to a passive mixer, which is through this knob right here, and then out, no buffer, to the next pedal or to your amp. And that's exactly the architecture of a actual tape Echoplex. The only difference between the Belle Epoch and a tape Echoplex is that there's actually no tape inside here. You're welcome to open the pedal and look inside. You're not going to find any tape. You could put some Scotch tape in there if you want even more authentic tape experience. So the feedback or echo sustain is also architected the same way as the real Echoplex. So we're striving to make this thing act, look, and feel like a real Echoplex. And so you get the one repeat, and then, you know, mild setting. You get more repeats, so they're really soft, just like a real Echoplex get. And then around 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, it's going kind of floats. And then beyond that is when you start getting the oscillation. So here's the Echoplex trick that a lot of people used, like Tommy Bolin used this, and Jason from Dead Meadow, he likes to use this trick. I saw him play recently, and it was great to see him play because he used the Belle Epoch like a real Echoplex. He's playing it like an Echoplex, and so one of the tricks you do with that is you set to kind of like a quick 8th note, 16th note thing, and you set the sustain up, and you just play. So you see what I did there? I just set it to this staggering repeat thing, and you just turn on for accent with the sustain up and the repeats kind of quick. So that's another trick there you can do. that Echoplex users did. Tommy Bolin did that a lot, where he would just had it set to that repeat thing and just slam it. End of a phrase. And then he would manipulate the tape slider too. And then he would just cancel it and move on to the next part of the song. So that's another cool trick you can do with the Belle Epoch, like the Echoplex.